we brought on my favorite fool, my favorite clown from the exotic industry, Ronnie Harkrider.
Yo, what's up, man? The blackbuck king right here.
I feel like a lot of people look at the industry and they go like, how quickly can I turn a profit on this? Well, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on. Is it's not like you've been doing this for 25 years.
We got serious about it the last EWA in San Marcos, and I sat there with my mouth wide open going, I'm doing this completely wrong.
There seems to be mentioning of and comparing blackbuck to fallow is everyone says the fallow spiked way too fast. Where do you want the blackbuck market to sit?
If you can keep it cost effective where people can get into the game and have good time and still make good money off of it, I think it'll be great.
One of the things I want to ask about is what's the future for Twisted H?
You know, the future is really exciting. We're on the verge of doing a lot more super stuff as well. You know, the sable, the kudu, the damas. I guess the biggest, other than that announcement that we can make today is,
as you know, and as you've probably heard, if you were listening to all of our podcasts, the more influence we have on these platforms, the more guests we can have. So I'm asking you, please comment below. Literally pause and go comment. You could comment whatever you want, but comment, share this. If you text it to your friends, your family, whatever it would be. I know I sound like an influencer and I will always say that because I feel stupid asking, but please like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever you need to do. It's going to help boost our algorithm. It's going to help boost our numbers. And again, thank you for watching the Droptine Studios podcast. April Fool's, Droptine degenerates. We brought on my favorite fool, my favorite clown from the exotic industry, Ronnie Harkrider.
Yo, what's up, man? The blackbuck king right here. Come on. How are you, Austin?
I'm good. Let's take this shit off and start the real podcast.
Why, man? It's great. Come on.
All right, now that we got the April Fool's intro out of the way, but just letting everyone know, we try to pre-plan these, and it just happened to be divine intervention that Ronnie Harkrider's podcast was going to be released unplanned April 1st.
Man, I'll tell you what, you keep saying unplanned. I've been telling me that for 2 weeks. There's no way y'all did not sit down in a meeting and go, huh, April 1st, there's going to be a podcast come out. It looks like it's Ronnie.
Man, I wish we were that smart, but it really just came out to be like we literally were sitting there pre-clicking it and it's all automated. And we were like, whoa. Ronnie Harkrider's April 1st. We're like, oh, that's perfect.
Oh, it is perfect.
Well, after we got in through all this intro and the April Fools and clown outfits, I guess to kind of make it serious, can you kind of give us a little background of who Ronnie Harkrider and Twisted H Exotics is?
So I'm just a guy from West Texas. Wasn't born out there, thank goodness. Was transplanted there at a young age. Mad at my parents for it still. If you're from the same area,
right?
You know what I mean? Always been an oil field worker, working in the pipelines, clearing right-of-ways on pipelines, power lines, reseeding, maintenance mowing, stuff like that. Spent some time growing up hunting, working horses, whatnot. Youngest daughter out of 3 was about to graduate college, and we didn't know what we were going to do. We chased her all over the place as she played softball. And I mean, coast to coast. And I kind of started thinking, you know, most everybody I've known at an older age, man, they die fast when they have nothing to do when they retire. So I was like, let's look at buying a ranch. Didn't know what we're going to do with it at the time, but let's buy a ranch. Something to do.
Right. Yeah. So when we kind of talked about it beforehand, because we've been hanging out for 5 hours already today, but kind of walk me through and the listeners through, because one thing I want everyone to know listening is, Ronnie, you've only been in the exotic industry for 2-3 years now.
So we bought our place October of 24. Is when we signed paperwork on our acreage.
Man, it's about a year and a half.
No, it was like Well, maybe it's 23.
But yeah, so I mean, still, that's
yeah. And so we had no idea really what we wanted to do. I had helped a guy out who had an exotic house fence quite a bit, and he had sold his place. And, you know, I'm like, let's get into the exotic business after we bought it. You know, and it's kind of taken off from there. And yeah, we have moved fast, but it's passion.
Right.
Pure passion to move fast. You know, you get into something and you don't want to do anything else. When you feel passionate about something, I mean, that's all you want to do every waking moment.
Right. Well, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on is, I mean, we'll obviously talk about blackbuck with our guest here, but overall, because I feel like a lot of people look at the industry and they go like, how quickly can I turn a profit on this thing? And I think that'll be a whole segment we get into, but that's what I wanted to preface before we start for the people listening is it's not like you've been doing this for 25 years.
No, we haven't. I mean, we've been doing it. We got serious about it after 2 years ago, the last EWA in San Marcos that February. And I kind of had a plan of what I wanted to do exotic wise. And then I went to that EWA event and I sat there with my mouth wide open going, I'm doing this completely wrong. This is a whole lot bigger scale than I thought it really was. And then after I got home and reflected a lot of the stuff that I saw and I learned at that event, man, that really started the plan.
Right.
I mean, we had already had a few animals here and there, but nothing. I didn't know what DNA registry was. I had no clue what that was.
Right.
And it is a game changer. It has value.
So you said you're from West Texas. Mm-hmm. We're both from Odessa. Praise hell, praise Dale. But what is your background in? Like, what have you done your entire life to make a living for yourself?
Pipeline work. I worked for Phillips Petroleum for quite a few years. Left there in 2006. Didn't know what I was going to do. Had a 4-year-old daughter. Oldest daughter was graduating high school. I just knew I was done being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was done being a number. Had some people reach out and asked me to do all kinds of different things. And I had a company reach out wanting me to do right-of-way maintenance. And so I'm like, sounds curious. Let's look into it. And started my own business and off I went doing that. Clearing land and reseeding and mowing, maintenance mowing, and been doing that since 2006. We have a small construction company. We do roofing and metal buildings that we started back in 2017. Everything's going well there and keep my mind occupied. Let's buy a ranch.
Yeah.
I need something else to do with the 3 hours a day I don't spend.
So with that, there's people who pick and choose, and we've talked about a lot of ranches. I've been doing this for a really long time, but even going into purchasing your property, a lot of people don't have a choice whether it's inherited or handed down to them, which is great. I hope I can do that for my kids one day. From my understanding, you purchased your ranch. So how did you decide where to buy from?
Yeah, so once we decided that's kind of what me and Debbie wanted to do, we looked around all different places. We knew we had a list of things of what she wanted out of a place, what I wanted out of a place. My number one thing is I didn't want to see a mesquite tree. So that left West Texas out of it. We had to go further east. We looked a lot around the Stephenville, Hyco area. But then as you start looking at property in certain areas, it's fucking expensive.
Right.
It's crazy. What I could buy there would be half of what we bought. You know, our place is in Brownwood. I was not a Brownwood fan. Brownwood is made up that lake, a lot of people around there from Midland, Odessa. And when I retire, I didn't really want to be around Midland, Odessa people.
Right.
Been around them since 1979. So as we looked in different places and then finally started finding bigger properties that was in our budget, didn't plan on falling in love with this because it was in the Brownwood area. We went and looked. One of the first places we looked at in that area was out by the lake. And as I looked at that property and I went, man, I want to do something exotic with the exotic animals, whatnot. And all I could see in that piece of property was it's right on the major highway between Cross Plains and Lake Brownwood and Brownwood, is opening up a beer barn. Like, that would really bother me.
Right.
But that's not really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to run a beer barn for the rest of my life. So we looked at a place down south of Brownwood. Went and looked at it, and I fell in love with it. Just flat fell in love with it and said, this is the one. Checked all the boxes. Debbie wanted close to something, the Walmarts, the grocery stores, city life.
Right.
I wanted a little bit further away. Well, where we decided when we looked that day, where I'd put a gate and sat there and punched in Walmart on the phone, and it was 14 miles away. Knew this was perfect. Found 5 mesquite trees.
Got rid of them.
No. I've left them there. I'm not that mad at them over there.
Right. Yeah, when you only have 5.
When you only have 5, man, you're not that mad at them.
Right.
But in West Texas, they're a dime a dozen and they're going to grow tomorrow.
Right. All right. So with your ranch, you said you fell in love with it. It was a perfect place. So that obviously factored into the plan of you and your wife choosing that property. How big is it?
It's only 70 acres. We were looking at 50, but I loved it so much that I wanted all 70. It mapped out to be exactly, straight fence by doing that, and didn't have to carve stuff out. And so it worked out perfect. We bought from our neighbor that was selling a larger ranch, but we just, at the time that wasn't in our budget to buy the whole thing. So we bought complete raw. I mean, completely raw. It was fenced on 3 sides, but we did have to build a fence in between to separate us from them or who was going to be the potential new owner.
So with that, you said that you went to EWA, that changed your plans. So from day one of you breaking ground on your property to today, what plans have changed as far as, is it just one giant fence? Do you have pins?
No, when we put in the fence in between us, I went ahead and high fenced it. I was going to high fence eventually. We had bought blackbuck, ginsbuck, scimitar oryx, and we had them on a low fence, all but that one side. People thought I was crazy putting ginsbuck on a low fence. Man, we did it for 9 months, almost to a year, before we even high fenced the whole property. But we have both. The perimeter is high fence, and we do have pins.
So, because a lot of people, when they hear this or get into, or recently we've been talking about, so many people are getting into the exotic industry right now. But a lot of people think you have to have hundreds of acres or thousands of acres to be profitable in this exotic industry. How have you twisted your little 70 acres of heaven in Brownwood, Texas to make you profitable?
It all depends on what species you really want to raise and you want to breed, on how much property you need. There's a lot of stuff that do very well in pens, from blackbuck, fallow, stuff like that, that do well. And there's some that don't. And so you've got to figure out exactly what you're passionate about doing.
Right. Yeah. So mentioning the passion, I mean, in 1 year, I mean, we just talked about it, from like the first time that Daniel went out to your property to the first time that you posted on Facebook about it. We're within almost pretty much our year anniversary of working together. And so let's take Droptine to the side for a minute. Let's just talk about your property. How much work have you done? Well, let me back up a little bit. You've done 90% of it, if not more, by yourself. No contractors, maybe just a couple buddies helping you, right?
So when it comes down to it, I am the ranch hand. I am the equipment operator. I am the fence builder. I am the ranch manager, and I am the owner when Debbie allows me to be. When she gives me permission to be. We have done everything from fence building ponds. And when I mean we bought complete raw land, there was not a pond one on there. We have built that. We, all the fencing, the electricity, everything done on that, period, except for drilling a water well, because I don't have a water well license, was done by me and just some day help here and there.
Right.
And it's enjoyable. I think you learn to love your property a lot more when you are that invested and you see the accomplishments that I did that.
Right.
And you appreciate it a lot more.
Right. Yeah, because we work with a lot of ranches, but I think that's been one of the most impressive things. I know I'm not invited to the ranch, but
no. Daniel's the man. I mean, at the end of the day, Rachel and Quinn will come to the ranch before you do.
Oh yeah, I might have to take them with me just so I can go out there.
No.
But
No, they got to come first.
But going through and even just seeing the content that Daniel's collected, seeing the pictures and everything of, like you said, from your pond, because I think last time y'all went, at the time, you just finished digging. Daniel came and filmed, and then y'all had that giant rain, and it just filled up instantly.
Oh, we finished that. I finished that pond, and I think we had that spring rain come through about 4, maybe 5 days after I was done building it, and it was full within half a day.
Yeah.
The pond was not even on the schedule to be done that year. That was on the schedule to be done this year in 26. But the rain before that, we lost 120 foot of fence because of that rain. And I wasn't there when I spend most of my weekends there at the ranch, and we were gone. I have to peel away and sometimes not go down there and do things with my wife. So, I can at least know I'm still married.
Right.
And we were gone on a little date weekend, and we were in Austin when that rain hit. And I was like, well, let's go by and check out the ranch and make sure. And everything was fine. We just did a drive through. The next day I started getting phone calls. The fence was down because even more rain just kept coming and coming and coming. And so a week later, man, I was building a pond.
Yeah.
We're going to stop. I mean, we were completely high fenced at that time, and we had sable, and we had kudu and fallow and Dama gazelles. I mean, we had invested quite a bit, and that could have been a huge loss to us because everything we've done has just been completely out of pocket.
Right. So you kind of go into like how you pivot, whether it was you get rain, you built a fence yourself, you've done all that, and then now the rain's washing it out. So you decide to build a pen or a pond. Doing this by yourself, out of pocket, straightforward, because I think there's a lot of guys that listen to this that want to do this on their own, right? Like they're starting from scratch, from brass, like nothing. What other hindrances or what other hurdles did you have in the first year or two as you were building out this entire property?
Oh, heck. Man, like most people, if they do anything, they grow up taking care of a dog or a cat, or, if they're lucky, they're taking care of cattle, horses. Taking care of an exotic animal is take all that other knowledge and throw it out the window.
Right.
I mean, it's just completely different. And it's until you actually start doing it, you don't realize you're going to spend, I hate to put it this way, probably the first 6 months of when you go to your ranch. Well, let's dig a hole and bury that. Well, let's dig a hole and bury that. And you start figuring out what you have to do to help keep these animals alive, from varmints or just anything nature-wise. when you buy an animal, the stress that you don't realize is on that animal between the capture and the transport, and it delivers, it comes out of the trailer fine, but who knows after that?
Right.
So, and if you're low fence, like when we started, blackbuck typically don't jump a fence. Well, just Friday, I was coming down the long way down our county road, and I saw a herd of blackbuck, and I can promise you, my very first blackbuck, they're 2 miles away living their best life on a barbed wire fence because they jumped mine.
Yeah, because I think that's a misconception people have is like they won't jump because there's plenty of people who keep scimitar, gemsbuck, blackbuck behind barbed wire, right? Or even a 4-strand or whatever it would be. But as long as they're not pressured.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest misconception. And then each one, just like in any animal, every person is different temperaments. Each one has different stress levels. So, but also their herd mentality. So one jumps, they might all jump because, hey, Leroy got over the fence. We're going to go chase after him.
Well, my experience with that, and the reason why we lost some is, in the sheep and goat world, people use Great Pyrenees dogs. And I found a guy that was within 30 minutes of Brownwood from us and had Great Pyrenees around all his exotics. That's how he kept them in check, more or less, and to keep predators away. And I thought, man, that's a great idea. We've been at this about 2 months. Peace of mind of me not living there was I got a couple Great Pyrenees. Bad mistake. Like I said, there's a nice herd of blackbuck starting on down the road from me.
Right.
And that's what it was, those Great Pyrenees chased him around to where it did put the pressure on him. And you don't think of that, but you try to do your best with the investment that you made to do anything and everything you can to keep that investment going.
Right. Well, and it's not only your investment, but the knowledge you have at the time. And so that's kind of my thing is if you're able to look back, because I can ask you, if you look back from when you started and you can remember, right? Like it was a couple of years ago versus guys who've done it for 30, 40 years. So looking back now, hindsight's 2020, what would you do differently?
I don't think I'd do anything differently. I think going through all the hard times and stuff when you're first starting helps you learn on how to care and what to do and what not to do. I don't think I'd do anything different except for it's easy to get caught up when you first get going. And trust me, I've had a smorgasbord of species out there. I mean, and the next thing you know, you're like, man, that was really not my focus. I thought they were cool at the time, but that's not my focus. So now I got to get rid of them. They're just taking up space. They're just eating feed. They're just not doing it for me. And as we drive around the ranch, I mean, me and my wife and my grandkids and whatnot, it's almost like driving through a zoo kind of. We like tame animals. And we want to look at them. I mean, we spent a lot of money on them.
Right.
And when that one species, you're just like, well, it was cool at the time, but it's not now.
So what dictates that from you? Is it, well, let me just ask that. What dictates what's working or what's cool to look at?
No, I think it's just kind of what's cool to look at the beginning, what you're kind of more passionate about, like blackbuck. I mean, I always knew blackbuck was my favorite. Being on a hunting ranch and watching them strut around and act the way they do, their behavior was just, they're not like anything else. And so that was always my favorite. And when we did this, and heck, we made our logo after a blackbuck.
Right.
And that will always be my passion no matter what. But it's just certain things, you're buying this, buying that, and this guy's selling this. It's almost like being addicted to anything. You can get addicted to exotics.
Absolutely.
And next thing you know, you're driving around and you're like, that just doesn't fit the picture. It's not really what I want. So now you're having to figure out how you're going to catch it. You're going to figure out how you're going to get rid of it. Stuff like that.
But kind of going into that with the species, you very quickly have grown. I mean, we joked at the beginning in our clown outfits, but as the blackbuck king, and I'll self-proclaimed, Droptine's calling it, Twisted H as the blackbuck king. But there's a handful of people that have been breeding blackbuck for a really long time. And for you to come in and make your stamp on the industry so quick, how does that feel?
Man, it feels great. And it's funny that you want to say the blackbuck king, and I've had other people say that stuff, and I do get a lot of phone calls, hey, so-and-so told me you're the one to talk to on the blackbuck. Well, there's other breeders out there than just me. I think that, in the last year and a half or however long it was, Roulette being found, the number one in the world that Nakona owns, has really started the market off.
Right.
I just happen to be lucky and be passionate about blackbuck. But you got some great breeders out there, what they're doing, what Alan Myers is over there doing at R&R. When I first got into this, that was one of the first facilities that I visited. Mm-hmm. And I bought blackbuck from them. And I'm like, man, it'd be great to one day that I can be someone like Alan and Gavin and them guys over there at R&R, because their pins were just set up so well. What they were doing, was just unbelievable. And I was like, if I can ever get to that point, I might be able to be somebody.
Right.
And not knowing, and nobody knew, the blackbuck market was going to do what it just did this last EWA.
Right.
Who would have thought record sales on blackbuck? And I went and I've kind of handpicked this or handpicked that I thought was good looking blackbuck. And obviously they are, and it's a lot of timing pretty much to be where I'm at right now. But there's a lot of people out there to take the credit for sure. And there's still I bet there is another number one out there hiding somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt.
Well, I just think it's funny, like, no matter what gets popular, like I remember, 4 to 6 years ago when Axis got their registry and they're really rolling, I was like, man, we go to a lot of places and we see a lot of animals, just even from the hunting side of it. But you start putting DNA on them, and then you start putting a bigger price tag on them. And we heard of someone today doing $100,000 Axis buck.
Yeah.
And so it was like, you start doing that, all these guys that have ranches that don't necessarily care about their animals out on the property, they'll be like, hey, check this out. What is he worth? Where's he from?
Yeah, but there's that criteria that as a breeder is looking for.
Right.
It's not just how long can it be? What is the curl like? How tight is it? What is the mass like? Guys that are breeding, they're looking for length, they're looking for mass, and they're looking for width. And at the end of the day, a lot of people, when they're hunting these animals, they're just looking for length. They want to go tell their buddy, oh, well, I shot this 19-inch blackbuck. Well, hell, I just shot this 21-inch blackbuck. That 17-inch blackbuck, the other guy's not wanting to say he shot, was probably a better looking one than the 20-something inch that his buddy shot.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes to with it than just length. It's got to have that look. And it's the same thing in an Axis. You can look at a lot of Axis. Is it wide? It's got big fronts. Does it have big caudals?
Right.
It may only be 33 inches, but it may have that 16, 18 fronts. It may have that, 9, 12-inch caudals, whatever.
Right.
It's got to have that look. It just can't be just one thing.
And that's what I've seen recently is one of the things that people are looking for. And we've talked about this for years, pretty much since I've known you. But it seems like Axis and blackbuck are kind of the only ones that get shafted on full scores.
No, it is.
And so for the people who don't know, most of the time an SCI score for a blackbuck, you would get mass measurements You'd get around the curl.
Yes.
All the way from base to tip. And then you'd also get width.
No, you don't get any width.
You don't get any width on black buck?
No, you strictly get base and you get around the curl.
Okay.
And
then, but what everyone's used to is just called straight tape.
Yes.
So you put it all the way to the base and just stretch it.
You take a black buck that, which, I mean, we have one of the, we don't have the largest straight tape breeder, but we have one of them at 24 inches Mayhem.
Right.
Which is a big, good looking buck.
Yep.
Just because he is 24 inches doesn't mean he's number one in the world. If you actually measure, and this is an unofficial measurement, which I've measured him and, talked to some people, he's 59th in the world. He's not close to number one, but he's also not done growing. I know that for a fact because when I first got him, he was 24 inches. Last time I measured him, which was about 3 months after I had him, he was 24 and a quarter. He's not done yet. So I'm not going to say he's not going to move up in the charts, but when you just pull a straight tape, it gets no curl. I mean, the tighter the curl, the better looking the animal.
Right.
The more mass. I mean, people have probably seen it on some of our ads. Boris had the most mass I've ever seen in a black buck. And they were almost as big around as that water bottle, if not as big around. The mass was unreal on that buck. It wasn't just all length. And there's a lot of black buck going for good money right now. And a lot of big breeders going for a lot of money. And those are going for a lot of money. And there needs to be a standardized scoring, whatever it may be. But let's give the credit the buck is due.
Right.
Yeah,
because so the way most people buy black buck, right? It might be from a breeder to breeder, but most of the time right now, since black buck breeding is still relatively new, you're buying from a broker. You may catch him off a ranch. He's in a barn. You get pictures of him in a chute, something like that. Well, it's hard to tell. Someone with an eye like you could probably tell that you're looking for the bases or looking for the mass measurements. But if it would be a lot easier to make your decision on how much money you're going to spend on him if you had an official score sheet.
No, it would be great. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, you got Nakonas who's got number one in the world. And then you got someone like me who has Mayhem that's 59th in the world. Let's start basing prices off of what Nakona's saying theirs is worth and what I'm saying mine's worth. And, and meet in the middle. You've got 59 spots there to fill.
Well, and I think the difference, though, is those 57 in between number one and 59, like most of those are hunter harvested, done, gone in black buck.
Oh, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them gone.
Right.
A trophy black buck on a hunting ranch is 18 inches. Did that buck ever get to his full potential?
Probably not.
No, probably not. So there's probably tons of number ones over the last 20 years that have been shot.
Right.
Just too young.
Well, and that's what, like when we had our hunting ranch, we based it off of 18 to 22, 22 plus. Those are our two price breakdowns. So if we had a buck that was born on the ranch, don't let him go another 3 years. It's only $500 difference on our price sheet. He's going to eat that and feed.
Guess what? Not anymore.
Well, not anymore. But it's like if we had a client that you took away one of those and he was happy with it, just one of those curls, and he was like, man, I love that black buck, love the color. Gone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's got their preference. But you still have a lot of those guys out there that are chasing those trophy animals.
Right. Oh, they'll always be here.
Yeah, and they will. And, our business model was to, and it still is, to make the widest, the most mass, and the longest ones we can. Even though the width does not matter, a wide buck looks great.
Oh, absolutely.
A wide buck will look longer than it really is. I promise you. It's just, that's the nature.
Well, and that's what's hard too, judging it, whether you get a picture in the stall, buying it live sale, or see him out in the pasture. If he's 20 inches wide, that's pretty big for a black buck.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah, so he's going to be just as wide as he is long. but he's going to make him look 26, 27 inches long when he's not actually.
Yeah. The widest black buck I ever heard of is 26 inches wide.
Yeah.
You know, that's unreal. You know, I mean, all of mine, I think, man, I'm lucky to get 20.
Right.
You know, but hey, let me buy some of that offspring.
Oh, for sure.
Which I do have in my pen.
So with that, I mean, you mentioned it, but do you ever see in our industry, the exotic industry, but having a standardized scoring system?
So it is going that direction. There's been talks in the EWA with the committees and the board members of actually putting in a standardized scoring system for black buck.
Yeah.
Now what that system's going to be just yet, I don't know. You know, it's all a board thing there.
Right.
You know,
I mean, it would make sense if they did the SCI score sheet just because that's already implemented.
I mean, your kudu, your sable, your fallow, Dama Gazelle, not Damas. I'm trying to think of what all's in the registry. It's all done by SCI.
Right.
So why not just stay with the same
Stick with
thing?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it makes more sense than anything.
Yeah. And that's one thing. I guess it was just laziness to the industry for years. But like, cause you know, I would rather, so like we'll pick on Axis since we're picking on black buck. Like I would rather shoot a 33-inch Axis that has 18-inch caudals and 12-inch brows rather than a 40-inch Axis but has 2-inch caudals and 4-inch brows.
No, I like what you're saying there. And I've had some discussions with some ranches. And if you actually ever look at SCI scoring when it comes to black buck and Axis, there is a gold, silver, bronze standard.
Right.
And you've got to meet certain requirements to get to that gold, silver, bronze. If I'm going to a hunting ranch and I want to say, I want to shoot a gold standard Axis, what is my price? That is the worth. If I want to shoot okay, hey, I can't afford that gold. What is the silver? Let's talk about a silver. And what is the price? What is a bronze? I think to give the animals the credit that they deserve, it needs to go off of that kind of standard.
Right.
And price accordingly. You know, golds are worth this much. Whatever that gold may be, the silver's worth this much, the bronze. I mean, it's in all species.
Right. And I think it's easier to do on black buck because they're a horned animal, so they just continue to get bigger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if everything's done properly, an Axis should lose, and now unless he gets old, and then he may drop his antlers and come back smaller, but theoretically that's a decision up to the ranch. If you're going from the hunting market going, hey, well, this is what he was last year. Are you willing to risk him dropping his antlers, regrowing them, and hoping he jumps up to the next price bracket?
Yeah, that's completely up to them.
Unless you're breeding and you have pictures of him, then those are...
You know, we breed Axis as well at my place, and trust me, that breeder gets bigger and bigger every year. You know, 5-star. I'm excited. I'm looking. He's the last one to ever drop on our property, and he is not even a quarter, but he's looking like a hammer right now. T47 is just massive compared to what he was last year. Warlock we sold.
Right.
To some very, very good people that are breeding him. And I still get updates every day from them. Or not every day, but at least weekly. And they talk about how much he's even growing. And I mean, that guy was, if you ever seen any of our stuff, I mean, he is just wide. He's got that look. And, you know, I hated getting rid of him, but, you know, when somebody's there at your ranch and say, hey, I'll give you this much for him, he's gone.
Yep, absolutely.
You know, and
everything's for sale, just not on sale.
Exactly. 5-star is one of the Axis I'll probably never get rid of in my life. He was my very first one. You know, there's some sentimental there.
Right.
You know, so and he's a great buck. And, you know, I've never seen a real chocolate horn buck. You've seen him in an axis, and that man is a chocolate horn buck. It's unreal.
A quick thank you to our sponsors, Swing Free Alliance. They are a nonprofit working to educate the public about the primates trafficking crisis and the truth about those cute spider monkeys that you see on social media. They also support ethical primate rehoming and sanctuary development. Swing Free Alliance, because primates deserve to swing free. If you want to learn more, check out their link in our bio below. We all know that social media is king. If you're looking to have a better presence on social media, but also looking for convenience, contact us today and we can show you our 3 pre-made social media packages, and we can show you that we have a custom social media calculator. You can adjust how many times that you want to post, how many reels, how many meetings you want to have with us, and we can even pull reports, and it'll spit out a custom price just for you. So if you want to be present on social media, you want convenience, and you want to look professional, contact Droptine Studios today, and we would love and be honored to help you with your social media. So before we go into all your other species, I still had a couple questions on blackbuck.
Well, I need a beer assistant.
So, what's up, G? Ron needs a ham sandwich.
Get the bag of chips in a little while, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah. So, the genetic side of blackbuck is so new. What are... The genetic side's so new. What are you looking for? Because some people, like Alan, he's got offspring that he can show. Like he's also breeding for wide and everything else. So how are you choosing what genetic lines you're going for? Because I know that in blackbuck, there's really only pearls, length, and width, and some mass. But so you got 4 traits you're going for, but there's not that many breeders out there. So how are you choosing who to buy from?
So you've really got to evaluate their bucks on what they're breeding. Alan's got the widest bucks I've ever seen. I mean, it's good stuff. Double wide. I mean, I have offspring from double wide. I've bought bred does. He had Black Sabbath. I mean, I had a Black Sabbath daughter bred to double wide. Which we worked those pins, and I'm waiting on some DNA back, to see did I get a buck or did I get a doe? I hope it's a doe.
Right.
I do. But I'm not going to be mad either way.
Oh, for sure.
Nakona, I mean, number 1 in the world. I have bred doe, baseline bred doe out of them, and we're waiting on the same things to see what we get back from the DNA on what was what. They've got great stuff, and there's plenty others out there. Joseph over there with Velocity is a good buck. Colby at Santa Fe. I mean,
right.
Those are good. I mean, there's a lot of good bucks out there. But there's only about 4 or 5 of us that I mean, there's probably more of us, but that really pay attention to what's going on and try to do what's going on.
And you're pushing it with the traits rather than just a buck on some does.
Yeah. I mean, we have one pin that I have a son out of Twister, which is Cyclone. And in that pin is nothing but paperworked females that I've bought from R&R Ranch, from Alan and them over there, that I bought from Trent, a good friend of mine at Buckhorn, that got out of the business too early.
Right.
Sorry. I mean,
sorry, Trent.
Yeah. Sorry, Trent. But he had Black Mamba, which was a terrific buck, and I've got plenty of his daughters in my pen. Stuff from Nakona, just kind of mix. My success is coming from these guys in over the last 1.5 to 2 years of buying from this breeder, and putting it all together.
Right.
Now we're having babies. We don't know we know what some stuff is. We don't know what but any buck, we don't know what it's going to grow into.
Well, and I think that's kind of just going off of history, right? Like you had the whitetail for so long. You have Fallow that's been doing it, and then you also have Axis that's doing it. And so Axis is just getting to the point where they can see offspring and being able to, like, hey, can you actually pass this trait down of coddles? Can you actually pass this trait down? And so in reality, all you're doing is going off of the history books of going, this buck looks like this. Here's what hopefully his offspring look like, but I'm buying all these does to be able to breed back to this buck.
You know, it's funny you brought that up. I got a young buck that was born on the pasture before I really started doing the pen things. And, you know, all the pens have come about in the last year. And I have bucks or deer being born on the pasture still. And I looked at one, you know, probably about 3 months ago. And he had about 2 or 3 inch horns. And I was looking at the mass on him, and I was like, and I'm through binoculars looking at him going, I think I know who your daddy is.
Mm.
And I caught him just yesterday, actually, and got a picture of him on my iPhone, and I sent it to a friend of mine. And I said, do you know who his daddy is? And he texted me back. He goes, that's Boris's son. And I said, there's no doubt. You even see it. And he's like 6 inches tall, 8 inches tall max. I think he's 6, but
man.
And so there's no doubt you can see the mass in him. So can it be recreated? Yes, it can be recreated.
Yeah.
And that's going to prove that when I do catch him one day and DNA him and it comes back his son, there's no doubt it can be recreated.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you hope. You hope that what you're breeding for right now is the worst genetic profile you have. Every year it's going to get better and better and better, because then you'll have a top and a bottom, and you'll have Boris over this, over that, and everything you do is just going to be continuously pushing out big black buck.
You know, yeah, you're right. It's going to be just like the fallow. I mean, the fallow is so deep in pedigree. You know, those guys, you know, Nash and them over there at NT, I'm trying to think, you know, some of keepers, those guys over there,
right?
You know, Trevor, they've got such deep pedigree. And you're going to see that between, you know, Alan, Nakona, Joseph, myself. You're going to see a lot of that going on as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, you know, there's some sleepers out there, I promise you. There really is. You know,
we're keeping our eyes open every ranch we go to just in case we see something.
There's some sleepers, and I know some of them that are doing it that aren't very public about it. And I talk to those guys, you know, and it's going to be interesting the day they come out, because they're going to come out with a big splash.
Right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, and I'll lean forward because I feel like Daniel's going to want this as clickbait, but there seems to be mentioning of and comparing black buck to fallow is everyone says the fallow spiked way too fast and it crashed off. Now I have other people who would disagree, but we saw black buck doe selling from $2,000 to $5,000 a head at EWA. We saw some males that were selling for like $15,000 that were young males.
Plumb crazy.
So where do you want the black buck market to sit?
You know, there was great success in February on black buck. Yeah. You know, you talk about that $15,000 black buck that sold. I'm sorry, man. That was Roulette's son, the number one in the world. How do you price that? You know, obviously whoever bought it, they sure priced it.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a direct son. I had great success. I mean, I had Cyclone, which is Twister's son, that was over Black Mamba daughters, you know, and I had great success, but the paperwork was there.
Right.
You know, the fallow market was before me. You know, it was before my time of really getting into this. And I think that the black buck market stays right where it's at right now, which you can buy great doe bred to great animals, you know, for the $4,000 to $5,000 range. I think it's perfect. I think it doesn't break the bank. So, like, if you wanted to get into the business, a black buck doe is going to have a baby every 6-7 months. I mean, they're fast producers, and you can go buy a handful of them, 5 of them, 5 doe and a good buck, you're not going to break the bank, and you can be in the business.
Right.
I think if we start getting stretched out to that $10,000-$15,000 a doe or whatever the fallow, I don't keep up with the fallow because I'm not a fallow breeder.
Right.
I think we're too new, and we're gonna price ourselves out of the market before it ever got started.
Right.
But if you can keep it cost effective where people can get into the game and have good time and still make good money off of it, I think it'll be great.
Yeah.
You can buy baseline stuff, very, very reasonable. And, I don't want to dig at the trappers because they have their place in this industry. But just because we're having success, don't go crazy, please.
Right.
Don't go do it.
Well, even a $600 pasture doe right now was unheard of 5-6 years ago. They were $100, $200 a head.
Yeah, before the freeze.
Right.
And I wasn't around then, but I get to hear all about how, man, I used to buy them for $100, $200 a piece, and then the freeze happened and they went outrageous. I think the pasture doe is a very good price between the 6 to, let's say, 800.
Right.
I think that's a good price in there. But don't go crazy. If you start going crazy, it's probably going to ruin it for a lot of people.
Right.
And if you just stay pretty moderate and let people get into the business, the money will come. Oh,
absolutely.
There'll be wealth there.
Well, and I think that's the thing is people have to understand if they're playing this for the long-term game rather than just sorry brokers, but if you're just doing it for one flip, then yeah, get as much as you can, but don't do that for the people who are doing this for the long haul.
But, you see it every day. You're right here in Bernie, Texas, where,
Bernie boys.
The Bernie Band boys, that's where that name originated. Most of them, and I can tell you in the last 2 years that there's tons of them that you saw in business and now they're gone.
Right.
Whatever reason. And I'm not picking on you guys. When I first started, I used those guys, and guess what? Some of them are my really good friends. When I need help at the ranch, there's no doubt these guys that were there from the very beginning, Cole Irvine and Ethan and Caleb Hamby at H3, Colby Crow, those guys, I can still call today to come help me out. They're good people. They do good things, but there's a bunch out there that ruin it for some of them too.
Right. Oh, for sure.
It just slow your roll.
So with that, we're kind of picking on, game traders for a little bit, but I've got a question as far as there's not a ton of black buck breeders that we've established. There's some sleepers that are kind of keeping their things hidden right now, but we've noticed a lot of people coming from whitetail to exotics, from other species to black buck. But do you think there's more of a commonality between the breeders, or do you think there's a lot of division between the breeders?
No, I can tell you, I can mainly speak from the black buck side of things. All of the black buck breeders that are really, invested in doing this, man, they communicate a lot. I communicate with all these guys all the time on a regular basis. And there's really no division. It's people working and saying, man, where do you think we can go with this? Where do you think we need to start? Where's the just the common ground?
Right.
And let's try to keep it there. Now some of the sleepers, they're not gonna voice their opinion. So, and that's fine. But, I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of the black buck breeders, and they're not going to tell me what they're putting together.
Right.
But, hey, let's try to introduce and let's bring more people into this. The more people we get involved into the black buck, the better the industry is going to be. And actually, the more record books there's going to be. I think in probably, 10 or 15 years, don't be surprised if Texas doesn't own the top 10, the top 15, the top 20 record book black buck killed in the state of Texas.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's going to be there in probably 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are for everything, but I mean, they're probably already getting close, and that was without an official breeding program.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd be curious to see where that comes from. But a big part of that is we've talked about the EWA. We talk about the EWA almost every podcast we bring on. But it seems like there's been some new things added into the EWA. Do you want to speak about your new role at EWA and mention that, Grace, and I'll take a beer?
Yeah. The EWA is getting so much larger. I mean, look at the events that have been going on. You've been there just like I have. I mean, they're not only doubling, they're tripling in size, just event after event. And they decided to add to, I guess, the register committee, some ambassadors over species. And I was asked to be the black buck ambassador, with the EWA. And I did accept it. Because I want to push, more standardized scoring.
Right.
I want to push more consistency with the black buck because I am passionate about it. I want also, any other people have suggestions. I mean, let me know. I'll try to push what I can. I mean, can't make any promises.
Right.
But
well, at this moment, we don't even know what the ambassador the whole role is yet. I
haven't even really been told. Eventually we're going to have a meeting and I'm going to know more about what my duties are. But I accepted it. I want to. I mean, black buck is my passion, and my number one thing is let's come up with a scoring system.
Right.
I want to push and get the board to vote on something that we can standardize how to score a black buck.
Right.
Other than a straight tape, and give them the credit they're due.
And I know we've said it already, but it blows my mind that, and I'm looking at this black buck that's from the office, but he's got pretty tight curls, long, he's kind of broomed off at the top, but like if you just put a straight tape to him, it doesn't do him justice.
No.
And I don't know why black buck are the only antelope species that are scored that way.
Yeah. I mean, I wished I'd have brought a tape measure in with me.
Yeah.
I have gone through the SCI scoring class. I'm not a master scorer, anything like that. But we're just giving the credit. I mean, you're probably looking at a 19-inch black buck, maybe. But if you put a tape and doing really, no, he's probably 24 inches.
Right.
I mean, he might be 26. He might, he's not getting the credit if you just pull from here to there.
Here, yeah.
I mean, he's got very decent mass, but he wouldn't be getting the credit.
Right.
And when we do a standardized scoring, I'm not trying to make the brokers, the trappers or whatnot have to take the time to go take a scoring class or go get with a master score or anything like that. That's not what I'm asking. But for people that are buying, really want to get into the business, know what you're buying.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you joked about it earlier, but it's true and we've even talked about it off comments I've made on the podcast in the past. Brokers hate breeders because they ask for very specific details. They hate them until they add an extra digit to the price of what the animal costs. And that's the thing but if you're going to ask for an extra $1,000, extra $10,000, we heard of an Axis today going for $100,000. If you're going to ask for $100,000 of an animal, $50,000, $20,000 for an animal, take the time to freaking score them properly.
So, from my experience I consider us a small acreage farm.
Right.
breeding facility. You know, our pens that we use are 1.3 acres. We are building 2 newer ones that are going to be about 3 acres, but we have 70 acres total. And if you're going to get into this business and you're new to the business, and whether you've got 10 acres or 300 acres, when you're buying an animal, the questions are the most important thing. The most important. You know, what is it coming off of? Think about what part of Texas you're in. You know, when you're up there with us, I mean, we get cold. And you're looking at buying an animal in November and it hadn't got cold yet, and you're bringing something from down south by the border and bringing it up there to where we are close to I-20. It's about to get cold, and has that animal ever seen cold weather?
Right.
You know, you've got to ask a lot of questions, and if those guys are getting upset about it, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, someone else.
I'm sorry. You know, you're trying to sell somebody an animal that they're trying to keep around till it lives an old age.
Right.
And if you're trying to make a
and
quick
they're just
buck
trying
or whatever,
to keep it until it gets off the trailer.
Man, if that's what you're doing, get the fuck out of the business.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about my language, but man, that starts pissing me off.
Right. Well, it goes back to the passion deal.
It does. Ask the questions. Now, if you're buying something expensive, if it's a black buck, I'm sorry, I want to know the SCI score. I want to know where it ranks in the world before I give you, I don't care if it's $20,000.
Right.
I want it scored. If you don't know it, if you're selling me this buck and you don't know a master score in SCI, no problem. I will have one come there and score it.
Yep.
Because there's not many, but Bryce Beatty, I'll tell you what, I'll call him in a heartbeat.
Right.
And tell him, hey, I need this buck scored before I do anything.
So that's another thing that isn't on our list or anything, but the aspect of doing that, because some guys say, no, just take it price today. Just take it as is. Well, I think there's 2 different prices. You want me to buy now eBay price? Or do you want to get an SCI score there and I might double my price of what I'll pay for it?
No, you're exactly right.
But if it's under, I'm not paying any more than X.
You know, there's been some, and you finally got me to say it, there's been some issues in the black buck world of measuring. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't expect, but I encourage, if you are going to sell a buck, it needs to be what you say it is. Anything that I sell off of my ranch, and I'm going to do this with all my breeders as we work pens from here on out, every one of my bucks will be SCI scored. I don't care if, when, why, what. It will have an SCI score. I will call Bryce. We're working this day. He will come out and score it. And I will have a third party do it. I'm not scoring this myself.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Even if you were a master scorer, you can't measure your own animals.
You cannot. I mean, I'm not going to say down the road, I mean, hey, I've got him in the barn. I want to pull a tape on him, that I'm not going to look and see if he's grown. I'm
100%.
going to. But from here on out, anybody that buys from me, from that buck, I'll give them a copy of the scoring sheet.
Right.
This is going to prove that what I'm selling you is legit.
Well, and as a seller, if you're the one handing off the score sheet to have your name on that, because that could be liable in court.
Oh, it can.
And so you're not going to want just, Tom, Dick, and Harry down the road measuring it that's never touched a black buck. You're going to want a Bryce Beatty. Mm-hmm. You're going to want a master score.
But there's too much, and it's in every business. Man, you get people that lie about what something measures. Me and you had to talk about it at lunch. Y'all bought at y'all's old ranch,
right.
Oryx that were supposed to be 40 inches, and you were shooting them and they were coming out 37s, 38s.
Right.
Oh,
on the high end.
Yeah. I thought you wanted just the 40-inch genetic.
Right.
No. Start asking questions. I mean, ask all the questions. Go and visit that facility. I get calls all the time of, hey, can we come out and do a pin tour or do a ranch tour? I've got no problem. I've got nothing to hide. And I'm going to take things further. And other breeders can do what they want to. But when I sell something from my place, it will have paperwork to back it up. If it's out of this buck, it will be SCI scored. I don't care if it measures 99th in the world.
Right.
But I expect his dad to have the same scoring sheet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it'd be cool too to be able to track, because I think another reason why so many people shoot black buck at 18 inches is because you can get them there in 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you're going to turn and burn hunts, yeah. So, like, if you're going to turn and burn hunts, that's one of the things where it's like, man, why wait another couple years? Why do whatever? But it'd be cool to be able to go, hey, I don't care if he's only 10 inches right now. Let's get the SI score. Let's see what he's looked like in 2 years.
Yeah.
Do another score.
And that's what I'm going to do. And my plan is, every year, no matter what, I plan on scoring that buck once a year. Now, if I go 2 years or whatever and he's still scoring the same, guess what? He's probably done growing.
Right.
Let's go one more year as a third year and then leave it at that. But if he doesn't grow in 2 years, he's done.
Well, because an inch is a huge difference in a black buck breeder.
Oh, an eighth of an inch is a huge difference. Go look at the record books. I mean, an eighth of an inch can make a difference. Quarter inch can make a difference. I mean, when you're sitting 59 and I probably grow another quarter of an inch, I might be able to jump into the top 30 something.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I don't have it, and I don't really think we have good Wi-Fi in here, but we should pull that up just for our own sake to find out like what that true difference is. We go, hey, to go from like 1 in 60 versus 1 in 10 is 2 inches.
Yeah.
That's what I told my wife, 2 inches is big.
Yeah, I got her almost convinced it's way big.
Right. So with that, I mean, besides scoring, right, we'll try to get back to the appropriate side of the EWA ambassador program. But, you need time out? All right, potty break. We are really good at our job. We just happen to sell convenience. If you're looking for someone to help run your business, whether it's social media, rebuild your website, whatever it may be, contact us today at droptinestudios.com. All right, back from a little potty break. But so going back to the black buck ambassador side of things, what besides scoring, what else are your goals or your intentions of being in this position now with the context of you don't know exactly what it is? What else do you want to push for?
More breeders. More breeders will help the industry and sustain it.
Right.
The more breeders we can have, like you have in the fallow or some of the other species, is going to sustain the black buck market. The more breeders we can get involved, the better the whole market's going to be.
Right.
The better quality you can produce.
Right. Well, that's one thing I've said, no matter if I went to, partner sell, EWA, TWA, TDA, any sell I've ever gone to, I always say we don't need more sellers. We need more buyers.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And so they'll become, a breeder, but we need those people who are new getting into it to be able to buy their stock to become breeders coming to these shows.
Yeah, so the more breeders you get, the more buyers you have.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where this is going to start.
Yep.
The more breeders you have, the better quality of animal you can produce, then everything's going to trickle to the hunting world.
Right.
The hunting ranchers are going to want better quality animals because it's going to be known out there going, hey, wait a second. I can go shoot that one for XYZ dollars, but wait a second. But if I can shoot this one.
Right.
I mean, the more we can produce, the better we can produce, the more the hunting world's going to be able to produce. I mean, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to a dollar value. I don't really what blackbuck hunt for $4,500 maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
You know, could you imagine that all of a sudden now they're hunting for twice that?
Right.
I mean, that ranch is going to be out for more quality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even having the price breakdowns of going, hey, if you want to have that bronze, silver, gold.
Yeah.
It just, more attention to detail, I think, in any aspect of business is never going to hurt. And so whenever you're able to break that down per price or per measurement or per SCI score, that's not only going to provide more value to the ranch, but it's going to provide more value to the animal.
I mean, a lot of them already do it anyways. A lot of them already take, you know, from 18 to 20 inches, it's this price. From 20 to 22, it's this price. 22 over is this price. You're already doing it. But the sad thing is when you start SCI'ing, even though that 23 incher may be a bronze.
Right. So I was going to say, there's some people who may like it and who may not like it. And
yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be the same discretion because a lot of the websites we build, they'll hunting ranches, they'll put something on there that goes, well, price subject to change based on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so if it benefits, which I mean, rightfully so, it's the ranch, they have the expense in it. But if you're going to go in and shoot a black buck and it scores more for SCI, go by SCI score.
Yeah.
If it's going to go more, and I think that's the current standard, but if it's going to be 24 inches but score 24 and a quarter when you do SCI, who cares?
But I think we're stuck in a rut in the hunting world on inches. Straight tape inches. We are stuck on that so badly.
Right.
That it's, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, I was always taught that opinions are like assholes. Some stink more than others.
Right.
You know, in my opinion,
everybody's got one.
Yeah. You know, in my opinion is I like the SCI scoring. I want to know where that animal ranks in the world.
Right.
It doesn't bother me what the straight tape length is. I want to know where it scores.
Right.
Is it a top 100? If you got a top 100, you actually have something.
Right. So with that, we've talked a lot at EWA and just, you know, we'd probably talk on the phone 2 or 3 times a week. But part of what I wanted to introduce into the listeners and stuff is we've talked about having like smaller networking events, something that's maybe not in San Antonio, but something just to get more people and more breeders, more hunting ranches together. What would be your hope for that networking event?
You know, so this last event, as many people as I've been talking to about what I'm breeding and what I'm doing, you know, black buck or Axis or Dama or any of the other things I'm breeding, you know, they're all new to the business. And I'm like, come to the EWA event. And I probably, this last go around in February, had about 5 people from West Texas come to the event, never been around EWA, never, you know, they're all, you know, one of them's a hunting ranch, but the rest of them are all startup, kind of wanting to get into the breeding. And I think that if we had other events, or if EWA had other events, you know, outside of the August and the February, just little mixture. I mean, it can be just a little bit of something and get the awareness out there. And this is going on. I think it would be tremendous for them, you know, and I've talked a little bit to Ken about it, and, you know, we're going to try to make something happen in the West Texas area. There's tons of high fence ranch owners in the Midland, Odessa area.
Absolutely.
They are everywhere.
And if they don't own a ranch, they're going to hunt one.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, in trying to get that put together, we're talking, I think Callan said some stuff that, you know, on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, they're going to start doing something rather in Alpine with a chuck wagon.
Yeah. Stuff
like that. And I think there just needs to be more of that and bring more, not really awareness, but promotion to the EWA. The more people we can get at the EWA, the more breeders we're going to bring into this.
Absolutely.
People are going to start figuring out that, hey, my small property can produce way more than what it's doing.
Well, it's even funny that, like, talking about West Texas, we had a guy, the guy was on the phone when he walked in the office the first thing this morning. He's from Van Horn, and he was talking about all the animals. He was like, yeah, we used to run 150 head of cattle on my property. But he goes, I did the math, and if I high fenced it and I put up pens, I could run about 450 exotics.
You know, you are right. I mean, but can you do that with today's price of beef?
Right.
That's the thing. I mean, 5-6 years ago, it probably was more beneficial for the cattle raisers to do more exotic. But also, price of beef is up right now. I mean, is it trickling back down to them? I know it is the grocery store. But what about everybody else does, supplement incomes nowadays? A lot of people figured out during COVID that they can actually be at home and do stuff. They can actually do extra besides what they're doing.
Right.
It's a new market out there. Let's get with the cattle raisers and say, hey, you can take this one pasture and probably produce just as much. And you've got two different businesses.
Absolutely.
You're expanding right there. I mean, totally different market. I mean, are they going to understand it? No, not really. But hey, let's teach them.
But if they had a networking event that wasn't as big and scary as a giant auction that we could all go to, then we could just sit there and chit chat. And so that's my goal is like, I just think so many people are intimidated going to an auction room with 600 or 700 people in the room. And you can break off and go to the booth and be able to talk to people. But if you just had an event that was 30 to 70 people, or just at a restaurant or at the museum or whatever, and you could just hang out and ask questions open and honestly, I think that's where you're going to get more and more people coming in and being interested. And even the tax benefits, because from my understanding, can't necessarily do that with cattle, but you can with exotics, so might as well run them side by side.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, if you take a page out of Brian Gilboy's book, the taxes in it, incentives on the exotics is just unreal.
Right.
And talk about out where we grew up in West Texas, which is not beautiful. It really isn't. I mean, we've got, what is our largest mesquite tree outside of town is like 5 foot. The things that strive in that kind of is antelope.
100%.
Your Gibbsbuck, your scimitar oryx, stuff like that. They strive out there.
Well, like that guy I talked to this morning in Van Horn, he was like, man, I have taken so many animals coming from East Texas that when he goes there, they get here and they're wormy and they're covered up and down on their backside when they're fecal matter. But he goes, we're tracking that fecal matter and we're tracking what we're doing. And I said, let me guess, it's because parasites can't live out there.
No, because we don't have any rain.
Right. Well, parasites can't live out where there's no rain.
We don't have much rain. I mean, our yearly rainfall is just way low.
Right.
And so there's so many people out there that can benefit from the exotic world in places they don't think they can.
Right.
But it's just getting it out there.
100%.
The breeders and whatnot, I mean, wasn't it oryx was extinct at one time?
Mm-hmm.
Was on the endangered list. And however long ago that was, I mean, it was before my time,
right?
But it's been brought back.
Right.
Dama is there now. You can only hunt a Dama gazelle in the state of Texas, nowhere else in the world, because we have so many Dama.
Right.
I mean, now is a Dama going to do well in West Texas? I don't. It's iffy, but hell, I'd try it.
Yeah. I mean, we had them in Abilene.
I got them in Brownwood.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hot, we're cold. A lot of people say they don't do the cold well. Well, guess what? Buy from your region and they'll survive. I promise you. We went through this last cold spell, even with a baby, and it did just fine.
Well, and we kind of joked about it before we were on camera, but just the aspect of like, we think exotics are going to go to all the lower 48. And the more that you do it, I think that gradually you're going to be able to take exotics further and further east, west, north. And as you get there, they'll eventually climatize to be able to say, hey, this baby has now been through a freeze. Hey, this generation has been through a freeze.
One of the guys, and I talk about the 4 or 5 guys that came from West Texas, but I did convince a guy from freaking Kansas to come down to EWA. I mean, him and his father-in-law and his son drove down there to come to an EWA event. and they are breeding right there on the Oklahoma-Kansas state line. And if you don't think that he's not going to climatize some stuff, get ready.
Absolutely.
Because he is.
Well, and I think that's the thing, too, that I want to point out is, I selfishly ask every podcast we do to like, subscribe, follow, do all the stupid things. But it's also the same point of everyone in that room. We've seen tremendous growth at EWA.
Yeah.
We've seen almost, a 25% growth from the last February show to this one. And then, but that's because of people like you. And I think that's the point where EWA has done a good job now, whether we had something to do with it or not, but they're building an atmosphere you want to invite people to.
I went to that first EWA event I went to 2 years ago, February. And when I said, like I said earlier in the podcast, is I sat there with my mouth wide open going, I'm doing this shit completely wrong. Man, when I left on Sunday from San Marcos and I called my wife and I went, Debbie, I didn't know. I'm a dumbass. I've been doing this completely wrong. This is what we're about to start doing. And when I got back, I became a lifetime member. And I decided right then, no matter, they weren't even thinking about me being a blackbuck ambassador or nothing, but I was going to promote the EWA because I believed in it when I went 2 years ago in February. And that's why I do what I do, promoting the EWA. I think it is a cause that's it's worth it, and people should come to it. It opens up your eyes,
right,
to what's going on and how you get to meet so many great people, even if they don't do the species that you do or you're interested in. It can be anything. Man, you've got Can-Am Polaris dealerships there. You've got Jay with Sky Hunter there to do surveys. You've got so many different people, and you can learn so much at one of these events that actually pertains to what you're doing, that you don't think about that. I need that Polaris or that Can-Am, or man, is it beneficial to do a thermal survey?
Right.
Even on my place. I mean, I can drive around my place, and I did back in October, going, holy crap, I got too many axes. And that's just me driving around. I don't really know how many I have. I've never done a survey on it. Should I call Jay and do it? Yeah, I probably should. But just leave the trap going, and if some goes in there and I don't want them, drop it.
Right.
I mean,
but that's a great point, is like, there's so many ways, and they've kind of capped out, and I think they're expanding their horizon at how many rooms they're going to get at the show. But if you really think about it, that's where there's a great amount of people, but it's probably only like the top 15% of people in this industry.
It is. Yeah.
And so that's why I want to see it grow. I want to see EWA be a bigger event, have more networking opportunities, even if it's smaller events throughout the year.
The 4 times I've been there, which is, that's how many events there's been. And I've been to other events and stuff too. And there's a lot of other stuff that they do really good. They do. But I recommend any ranch owner to actually come there and talk to these people. Just about everybody that's selling something there is there. You can actually talk to them about that animal. You can get the whatnot stuff you want to hear and stuff you probably don't want to hear. If they're honest about it.
Right.
About that animal that you're buying, what you're getting. You're dealing with the person. It's not, and not trying to bash the traders or the trappers or anything, but you're actually knowing what that animal is. They were there when it was born.
Right.
They know what it's been fed. They know what it drinks. They know how it's been treated. And I think that's a plus in any hunting ranch. If you show up to that event, you're going to find out that the survival rate of animals being delivered to your property is going to be more successful.
Right. Well, it's kind of like I talked to someone the other day that they were fairly new in the exotics, and they're like, how come I feel like if I go to the YO sale, I feel like that's like pennies on the dollar?
Gee.
And I was like, well, that's because there's a fine % chance that it may or may not survive. Like it's run through the chutes, it's kept in the stalls, It's there before and after until everything's done. But also, there's a higher percent chance, more than likely, if it's going through one of those cells, it's a higher percent chance that it's going to die.
And that's true. And I mean, there's those auction sites, you know, and I'm not bashing them anyway, because I have bought stuff off of auction sites. I've gone to live auctions and bought, and I've had some good success and I've had some bad success, you know, but it's not the auction site that knows about it.
Right.
It's not. And you know, they're there, they got their place, you know, and they're making their money and their percentage, and they're providing a good service. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If I've got too many bucks in my pasture that have pedigree that I want to sell, if I'll promote them, and if they don't sell, what am I going to do with them? I'm going to go dump them off in an auction. Take them to the sell barn. Yeah. I'm going to take them to the sell barn, and nobody knows what it is. Yep. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I'm an open book.
Well, and that's the part is, like, we say it all the time in our industry of doing what we do, is we're very good at what we do, but we sell convenience. And I think a sell barn is convenient. Yeah. You go drop it off, you sell it, they ship it, they do everything for you, and they just take their cut, which is fine. Our industry has thrived off of that. And to my knowledge, I don't have any indefinite, but like some of those sell barns are running $1 to $2.5 million a month. So there's plenty of business coming through depending on where they're located. Yeah. But that's the aspect of it, is there's plenty of people who are willing to sell a percentage of their animal just for convenience.
You know, I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit right here, and I'm gonna give kudos to the sell barns like that. I have an animal that I bought through a sell barn, because when I want to introduce something to my ranch, a new species, but I'm not for sure if it's going to survive or not, I'm going to go try to pay as least amount as I can.
Absolutely.
I really am. And I bought a species and I stuck it out there a year ago. And to look at it a year ago and look at it today, guess what? Thank you, guys. I'm not going to say who you are, but whoever dropped that animal off is turning out well for me. You know, and it's a success. I mean, and I've had some non-success.
Right.
You know, I mean, but to me, always the good outweighs the bad. That's the way absolutely. I look at it, you know, and there is those places for them, and I will utilize them later down the road, because if I can't sell something that has got deep pedigree, I'm going to take it there, and guess what? You're not going to know if you have it or not.
Right.
So if I was you're buying from a sell barn, join the EWA and DNA everything you get.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what you're going to find.
Right.
I mean, you may not find nothing, but hey,
I know a lot of the guys that their whole business model in the fallow industry is buy a big breeder from a big name place, get unpedigreed does, breed them like hell to them, and then try to sell those as bred does to this buck. But any of those bucks that come out that don't produce, they just take them to the sell barn. And it's fine. You know, it's a business model. I think it hurts the breeding community, because they're going, well, that buck didn't produce anything. And it's like, well, he could have. He just put them on unpedigreed does, and you're only going to get what you put in, or you're only going to get out what you put in.
You know, you say that, but at one time, every species, no matter if it's the biggest sable, the biggest kudu, the biggest dama, the biggest fallow, the biggest black buck, it was bred to a baseline.
Absolutely.
Female, it's somewhere. They were all baseline sometime or another.
Yeah.
You know, now it's up to you to figure out how to make it bigger, how to make it better as a breeder.
Right.
You know, there's nothing wrong with buying anything baseline. Nothing at all.
I want to make sure I say that correctly. I never am talking bad about it. It's a business model, and it's sustainable, because the guy I know who does it pumps a lot of them out. The only thing I would say is, depending on the species, is knowing that there's a way to predict, and the only way to predict is to have that pedigree. Because I know a lot of guys that have dumped pedigree stuff in sell barns, because that doe isn't producing, but they don't want to have their name tied to it.
No, exactly. And that's what I'm talking about, my bucks. You know, if I got a buck that I don't want to keep or I can't sell, I'm going to go dump it off at a sale barn.
Right.
And nobody's going to know it's one of mine.
Right.
I mean, it's just part of the business. Everybody's doing it. You know, if it's a big secret, sorry guys. I mean, I let the cat out of the bag.
If they're running $2 million a month through their deal, it's not a secret no more.
I don't think they care.
Yeah.
You know, when I got into this business, and I've met some, like I said, some great people like Bryce and Colby Crow and H3 Cole. I mean, you know, they're my relatives, but in Austin, you know, that were honest with me. But, you know, I also met people that were not as honest.
Right.
You know, and it's growing pains. It is growing pains all the way around. You just learn not to go do business with that person, period. And I'm still growing as I'm growing in this business, is I don't want to be one of those people.
Right.
You know, I'm going to be an open book until it's time that I take something that sell barn.
Right.
You know, but you're going to have anybody in the world that's on any of the Facebook sites, whatever they may be, that we all put stuff up for sale, or even on my own, you're going to have the opportunity to buy that before I do that.
100%.
You know, but I'll always be an open book. My ranch is always open for anybody to come take a tour.
Well, I wanted to ask about that too. So we've been talking about how you're a ranch owner. You're pretty much everything as long as Debbie lets you. You're running everything, doing stuff yourself. But what else do you do besides on your property? Could you do more than just at Twisted H, the actual location?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, you know, my background is land clearing. I mean, I've grown up being an equipment operator. You know, when I was 6 years old, I was out on a pipeline with my grandfather. You know, I was running a dozer while he sat in a truck and looked at Playboys and did whatever he wanted to do. I don't know. I mean, half the time I'm telling you, come lunchtime, I sat on the toolbox and looked through the back window and peeked at the Playboy.
Right.
I mean, I honestly did. And so, no, there's more that we can do. I mean, between land clearing and really just, I don't know everything, but I've done all this myself. I've built metal buildings. I can help out in a lot. Do I want to go do a lot of that? Not necessarily. I don't, but I'd be willing to help somebody out.
Right.
To do a lot of the stuff. I mean, when you're a roofer and metal building construction guy, you know, you have the concrete, you have the electricians, you have the plumbers, you have all these trades in your Rolodex. Now, I'm not going to say I have it in your area,
right,
but you know, I do have the knowledge to do a lot of that. Right.
Well, you also, I mean, talk about your meeting tomorrow, not specifically where you're going and what you're doing, but
you know, we're new. We have two traps. Mainly, I bought a trap the very beginning to just stay at my place and to trap the animals I want to sell. We have recently purchased a second one, and we're branching out a little bit into the trapping world. I've done some stuff for some other people personally that I know. That's not, at my age, not what I want to do every day.
Right.
But I'm willing to help people out. I'm willing, and I've got a meeting tomorrow with a ranch and a ranch owner to help them get rid of the surplus animals at a fair price. I know what I can get for an animal, but from my place, you know, the market is the market. And people need to know whenever I'm going to do something like that, or when I do something like that, I specifically tell them, this is not from my ranch. I'm catching it over here, but I am in contact with the landowner and I can tell you whatever you want to know about that animal. Mm. You know, so there's a little more value there. I'm not going to just throw it on a trailer, put it up for sale without knowing about it. And that's what I'm meeting with them about tomorrow, is to help them maximize their profits And still, I mean, I still have to make a little bit of money for my time as well.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's more of kind of a, I guess, consulting.
Right.
I guess you would say, but I'm going to take my fee on, I'm going to pay you X amount for this species or how many ever, and I'm going to turn and sell it to customers that I know will get all the first dibs to everything that comes off of that. And then I'll put it out to public.
Right. Yeah. So they're being able to come in knowing that you trust them, that they've already worked with you, but then you wouldn't sell something off that property that you wouldn't buy yourself.
No. I mean, I think when you're getting into that, you're just getting into the everyday. And when I sell something to somebody, I'm going to stand behind it.
Right.
I caught off a ranch in Colorado City last summer, and we live loaded a species of animals, delivered them to a customer. He calls me up the next day and says, "Hey man, this died within 12 hours of being here pretty much." Okay. You want your money back? You want me to bring you another one? He goes, "I really want another one." Okay. Give me a little bit of time because we gave you everything that was on that ranch and I don't have that species. So give me a little bit of time and I'll make do on it. And yeah, did it cost me? Yes, it did. But at the end of the day, I had a happy customer.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to stand behind everything I do. And that's just how I do it. If you're not happy with something, then let me have it. I mean, I guess it's still alive. Let me have it back. Let's do something different.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm not here to screw anybody. I mean, there's enough of that going on. I mean, hell, it happened to me.
Right. So we've kind of talked about how you got to where you were, how fast you've gotten there, the black buck industry. One of the things I want to ask about is, what's the future for Twisted H?
You know, the future is really exciting. Man, we, other than just black buck, I will tell you before I get into one of the bigger things that we're doing, we're on the verge of doing a lot more super stuff as well. You know, the sable, the kudu, the damas. We got a little small dama herd going. We're fixing to add to the sable and the kudu. But, you know, I guess the biggest, other than that announcement that we can make today, is at EWA ICE, and there was some talks a little before, but we sat down and finally ironed everything out that myself and Nakona Ranch are doing, not really a partnership, but collaborating together. And we're going to start breeding each other's does. So a lot of my does are fixing to be bred by the number one in the world. And some of their does are going to be bred by mine. And to me, being young in the industry and doing what I've done in the black buck world, that's massive to me. I mean, me getting a breed with the number one black buck in the world, I mean, that's going to set the bar.
That's an honor.
For me. Oh, yeah. I mean, they could have picked breeders other than me, you know, and they made a deal with me to do it. And I mean, you know, Kyle and Chris over there at Nakona and those guys, I mean, man, thank you for picking me to be the guy that you want to do something with first. It's going to set me, at the end of the day, I think it benefits me more than it does them.
Right. You've already signed the contract, right?
Yeah, everything's pretty much done.
Yeah.
You know, and I even had to ask them, I'm going on the podcast, can I announce it? And they like, hell yeah, do it. You know, they were all for it. And, you know, that's the biggest thing. And I mean, that's going to put, I'm not going to be as good as Nakona. I don't have the number one in the world. And yet, exactly. I was just about to go there yet. But it is, I feel like with the lineup that I have with Twister's son, unofficially is 39th in the world. And Mayhem, my 24-inch breeder, unofficially at the moment is 59th in the world. And working with Nakona, having two breeder bucks at that caliber, which one of us is going to breed another number one in the world? I mean, I hope it's them, but also hope it's me. And I hope they do it with one of my bucks, you know, and I hope that I do it from breeding one of my does that I'm going to take over to them.
Then you hope you have her sister and her daughter. And
I think maybe in 5 years, we're both, I don't know, we may be swapping every other year on who's number one.
Right.
You know, I think the lineup is there. I think between the two of us, we'll put the pedigree there that both of us will be producing definitely a lot of top 20 bucks in the world right here in the state of Texas between the two of each other.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I don't see how it's going to not be.
I mean, you're breeding number 1 to number 20 to whatever they are. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It just needs time.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day with that little, I don't want to say partnership because I mean, we're not exchanging any money in any ways or anything, but I think the both of us are going to be, you know, one of the top to deal with in blackbuck breeding in the lower 48.
Right. Before we wrap up today's podcast, a quick message from Swing Free Alliance. Those baby spider monkeys that you see on social media might look cute, but the truth is often tragic. Poachers frequently kill the mothers just to capture the babies. Swing Free Alliance is exposing the reality of the exotic pet trade and fighting for a better future for these animals. They're born to swing free, not to be smuggled. If you'd like to learn more information, visit swingfreealliance.com, or you can check out the link in the bio below. All right, I'm letting you know this is an ad. I'm also letting you know that we are actively looking for sponsors. Yes, if you become a sponsor, you will be promoted on our e-blasts, our social media, and our website, and so much more. But we are asking for support because this podcast is time consuming. Scheduling people, editing it, running, coming up with the questions, and all that it goes into this, but we are trying to benefit our industry. So if you want to be a sponsor and get more eyeballs on your business, or if you just want to help Droptine Studios continue to put stuff out for our industry, please consider being a sponsor. Go to droptinestudios.com/podcast, and you'll see all of our pre-made packages that you could be a sponsor for. Thank you. Well, selfishly, I want to ask you, why do you think Nakona, excluding your actual black buck, chose Twisted H?
So you really want me to go there?
Man, I owe you $20, but
you know, a lot of my success, I will say it, besides, you know, I do have to throw in my eye for good looking black buck.
Amen to that.
But my relationship with you, Austin, and Droptine puts me out there over the top. And you know, I say this to anybody, if you're not having Droptine do, and I should be getting paid a lot for this, you know, you guys have been there for me the whole way. The pictures, the content that I get that I can put out there has put me where I am today. And if you're using somebody else, in which I've had other media companies come out and do, you know, take pictures or whatnot, you know, but it's not even close to the quality in what I get from you guys. And y'all are a big backbone to what Twisted H does and where they are today. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'll admit it. I'd like to say it's all myself, you know, and be that arrogant, but I do have to give you that credit. You know, and I've got to give the credit to Daniel, you know, the guy that comes out and does everything that when I first met him will not say 2 words. You know, I thought I've met a shy 2-year-old. And then I meet Daniel, who is even more shy than that, you know. But working with Daniel, coming out to the ranch, which, you know, when I called you, because we've known each other and my family knows your family all these years, and, well, I'm going to send Daniel, like, I'm going to send the B team. Well, I feel like I get the A team. I think you're like the D team.
Oh, for sure. I'm just on the pace for everything.
I don't know, man. Debbie's wrote some big checks.
Well, she wrote them to me, but I distributed them to everyone.
But Daniel does a great job. Really, all the staff at Droptine is just wonderful. Not so much, I don't know about Dina, but I did grow up with her, but she is a great lady. But, just everybody at Droptine. I mean, Grayson, he'll come to the ranch before you. Rachel will, Quinn will. Everybody will come to the ranch before you because you were invited the first time and you sent Daniel.
All right, well, I'll drive down. I'll just go down to Dan Stewart's place, half a mile down the road, and hang out with him. Then let y'all hang out. Tell
Dan and Jason I said hi, and maybe they will tell you about where I'm at, which is not but 5 miles down the road, and see if you can figure out where I am.
It doesn't matter. I'm not invited anyway.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I was just telling Daniel, I said, I think when I die and we have a big party at the ranch, because I refuse to have a funeral, I want nothing but a party, that Austin may be invited then.
Maybe
invited then.
If not, I'll fly my drone over and zoom in.
Oh, there'll be a drone there because I imagine Droptine will be videoing and taking pictures of all of it.
We'll live stream it.
And then sending the bill to my kids.
Right. It's only half your inheritance. Doesn't matter.
Hey, you know what? I when it comes to inheritance, I hope my kids don't get a dime of cash. I hope I spend every bit of it before I die. And I tell them that every day. You can deal with the house, the ranch, all that crap. That's all yours. But I want to spend every penny I have, which is not going to take me long. I can retire, but I'll have to go back to work next week.
Well, I know I had to ask selfishly just because, we've just done like 5 or 6 trade shows together, and it's actually worked in our benefit of having you around, and actually people being able to hear from the horse's mouth of a client, of being able to say what it's actually been able to do. But I think it's shown tremendously of people who's been in the industry for, 10 years, and being able to compare your stuff now within only 2 years to, I think, our first time out there with you, a year, to people who've been doing it for that long. And your stuff selling higher, you're getting more marketing opportunities, you're getting more people approaching you to do stuff like this. And I'm very humbled. I did bring it up selfishly on our podcast, but I'm very humbled that you'd even attribute part of your success to our team.
Y'all are a lot of it. The other part of it is, and I learned in the first, 3 to 6 months in this business, is you've got one or two choices: buy nice or buy twice. And I really think do your homework. Don't impulse buy, and really, really look at what you're doing. If you're going to buy from anybody, I don't care who it is, go see the product you're buying. You don't go to a clothing store and buy something without trying it on. You don't go to the grocery store without buying stuff that you don't know what you're buying. Know what you're buying and buy nice or buy twice, because that's what you're going to do. And everybody's a victim to it. I don't. And if you say you never bought something that didn't pan out, well, you're a liar. I'm going to call you out. You're a liar, because you either buy nice or you buy twice. Nobody ever in this industry does everything the right way.
For sure.
You're going to have your ups and downs. You're going to, I'll never forget when we first started and Debbie's like, God, is this really what you want to be doing? How many animals you bury this week? Know where you're buying from. Go to talk to those people and go visit, see how they take care of their animals, what they do on a day-to-day basis. Know what you're buying.
Right.
And don't be afraid to spend a couple extra $1,000 on something.
The right thing.
Exactly.
So we've talked about this. We're going to dub you as the blackbuck king of the exotic industry. So what do you want the blackbuck industry to achieve in the next 5 years?
Man, just stay level. Let people get into the business. Let it be affordable, for that person to get started. as myself or as Alan or as Nakona, we get deeper and deeper in the pedigree, I mean, things are going to get pricier. They are. Whoever it is that's breeding right now is ahead of the game. You know, just stay level for a while and let other people get in and let them experience the joy of doing it.
Right.
You know, we can run out there, you know, let's say the handful or two of breeders that are out there. And I mean, we can set the world on fire and then we can be done in a year or two. But if we just stay level headed and keep things just level, man, we can sustain this for the next, I don't know, how long has fallow been going on?
Wow. I think their registry's at like 6 years now.
I mean, you know, just let it go with the flow.
Right.
Let it just go with the flow. You know, if you want to get into fallow, which I'm not a fallow guy, but I mean, I see the prices. You see the prices. So do the fallow breeders, man. You know, we don't have to be there yet. We don't have to be there in August. Let's be there August of 2031, 32.
Right.
You know what I mean? Let's be there then.
Well, I feel like it's a great point because so many people try to get in on the aspect of like going from the EWA sale from February to August and August to February. That's all they're viewing. They're not looking at it from the 5-year perspective. They're going, well, how high can we get this before the next sale? How high can we get this before the next time we go to auction?
Let pedigree do it.
Right.
Let the lineage do its work. You know, I put a lineup together, like I said, going to Buckhorn and going to Allen and going to Nakona and, you know, going to Keepers and Bo Thompson and putting a lineup together to push me ahead. And it worked. I mean, I was very successful in February.
Right.
I mean, I was more successful than I thought I was going to be. You know, I'm up there with those guys. And just let time take it where it's going to go. Just let it take its time.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's a lot easier, and I know you've said it, so I won't hark on it too long, but like it's a lot easier for someone to get in at the $2,000 to $5,000 range consistently, right? Like, can most of these guys afford a $50,000 or $100,000 animal? Sure, but how many? And so if they can go in and spend $100,000 and get a whole breeding program, that's way different than $100,000 animal.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, I think there's value in buying a handful of pedigree does, and even if you put it on a solid buck, black buck, I mean, a solid one that you may find in a pasture somewhere, and they're out there. They're out there everywhere. They just got to be found. But then bring in some pedigree, you know, some pedigree and some baseline and mix it together. You know, you're going to have a baby every 6-7 months.
Right.
You're going to build your pedigree up quickly. You know, in a 2-year period, you're going to be right there amongst everybody. You know, so just be smart. You know, you don't have to go break a bank. You know, you can go to any of these guys and you can buy stuff, you know, from the $4,000 to the, you know, $6,000, $6,500 range. And man, you're right there with us.
Right.
You just got to wait a little more time, you know, and make sure you do everything right. Make sure your DNA, everything, make sure you're taking all the steps, but you're in it, you know, for a small amount of money.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Is there, before we wrap up, is there anything you want to say to the listeners or people who may be tuning into the podcast?
Man, anybody out there that wants to get into the breeding business, man, just call. There's handfuls of breeders out there. There's some great people from the supers all the way down to the common as blackbuck. Reach out to somebody, pick their brain, and if they don't want to answer the questions, call the next one. You know, get all the information before you get started. You know, go visit their ranch or their facilities or their pens, see how they do things, and pick 2 or 3 or 4 or how many you ever want to, because you're going to go from the high end down to the low end of someone like me that's been just doing it for a couple of years. And I mean, we're not there yet. I mean, we're still in construction phase, new barn going up, new pens still being built. I mean, we're still working towards what our goal is, and go look and see what it's like going from the ground up. Pick those ones that have been doing it for 6, 10, 20 years, whatever, but also pick some of the little guys. Help the little guys, because guess what? When you get into the business, you're a little guy too.
Yep.
Little guys are just as good and they're small and mighty as the big guys.
Yep.
They don't have the numbers, but they damn sure have the quality, some of them.
Absolutely.
Like myself.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, don't judge a book by its cover. Go read the whole thing.
Sure.
And I that's just my advice to somebody getting into the business is do your homework.
Yeah. Look outside the auction rooms.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger room than just what's in the auction room.
No, it is. And I mean, you're going to end up in that auction room just like I am.
For sure.
And you're going to buy from it. You're going to sell in it. You're going to do all of it, and it's exciting, and you get wrapped up into it. I mean, the TDA, the EWA, I mean, they, Star S this weekend, they put on some great stuff. It's just, what will your bank account allow you to do? I mean, but it's all good, and go learn as much as you can.
Absolutely. Well, Ronnie, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I know we had a good lunch, and sounds like we're going to go have a good dinner.
Yeah.
And we're honored to have you on.
Hey, thank y'all very much. And if anybody's got any questions, man, reach out to Twisted H Exotics. And I mean, we'll do whatever we can to help out.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into the podcast. I hope you enjoyed talking about blackbuck breeding, exotics in general, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.